It's a
All
good
right,
way
Joe,
of,
here is the star
using
of the evening. Governor Sarah Palin is coming on stage in Nashville. There are 1,000 people in attendance at the convention. They have paid, we are told, $500 each to hear the governor, and here she is, Sarah Palin.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And today, I want to start off with a special shout out to America's newest senator. Thanks to you, Scott Brown. And yet again, President Obama found some way to make this all about George Bush. You know, considering the recent conservative election sweep, it's time that they stop blaming everyone else. When you're 0 for 3, you'd better stop lecturing and start listening. The Obama-Pelosi-Reid agenda, it's going to leave us less secure, more in debt, and more under the thumb of big government. And that is out of touch, and it's out of date. And if Scott Brown is any indication, it's running out of time. The bottom line is this. It's been a year now. They own this now, and voters are going to hold them accountable. This is about the people. This is about the people, and it's bigger than any king or queen of a Tea Party, and it's a lot bigger than any charismatic guy with a teleprompter. Now, in recent weeks, many of us have grown even more uneasy about our administration's approach to national security. The most important role ascribed to our federal government, let me say too, it's not politicizing our security to discuss our concerns, because Americans deserve to know the truth about the threats that we face and what the administration is or isn't doing about them. So let's talk about them. New terms used like overseas contingency operation instead of the word war, that reflects a worldview that is out of touch with the enemy that we face. We can't spin our way out of this threat. It's one thing to call a pay raise a job created or saved. It's quite another to call the devastation that a homicide bomber can inflict a man-made disaster. And I just say, come on, Washington, if nowhere else. National security, that's one place where you got to call it like it is. And in that spirit, we should acknowledge that on Christmas Day, the system did not work. Abdul Muttalib passed through airport security with a bomb, and he boarded a flight hell-bent on killing innocent passengers. This terrorist trained in Yemen with Al-Qaeda. His American visa was not revoked until after he tried to kill hundreds of passengers. On Christmas Day, the only thing that stopped this terrorist was blind luck and brave passengers. Really, it was a Christmas miracle, and that is not the way that the system is supposed to work. What followed was equally disturbing after he was captured. He was questioned for only 50 minutes. We had a choice in how to do this. The choice was only question him for 50 minutes and then read his Miranda rights. The administration says then there are no downsides or upsides to treating terrorists like civilian criminal defendants. But a lot of us would beg to differ. For example, there are questions we would have liked this foreign terrorist to answer before he lawyered up and invoked our U.S. constitutional right to remain silent. Our U.S. constitutional rights. Our rights that you, sir, fought and were willing to die for to protect in our Constitution. The rights that my son, as an infantryman in the United States Army, is willing to die for. The protections provided, thanks to you, sir, we're going to bestow them on a terrorist who hates our Constitution? and tries to destroy our Constitution and our country. This makes no sense because we have a choice in how we're going to deal with the terrorists. We don't have to go down that road. There are questions that we would have liked answered before he lawyered up, like, where exactly were you trained and by whom? You're bragging about all these other terrorists just like you. Who are they? When and where will they try to strike next? The events surrounding the Christmas Day plot reflect the kind of thinking that led to September 11th. The threat then, as the USS Cole was attacked, our embassies were attacked, it was treated like an international crime spree, not like an act of war. We're seeing that mindset again settle into Washington. That scares me for my children, for your children. Treating this like a mere law enforcement matter places our country at grave risk, because that's not how radical Islamic extremists are looking at this. They know we're at war, and to win that war, we need a commander-in-chief, not a professor of law standing at the lectern. It's that same kind of misguided thinking that is seen throughout the administration's foreign policy decisions. Our president spent a year reaching out to hostile regimes, writing personal letters to dangerous dictators, and apologizing for America. And what do we have to show for that? Here's what we have to show. North Korea tested nuclear weapons and longer-range ballistic missiles. Israel, a friend and a critical ally, now question the strength of our supports. Plans for a missile defense system in Europe, they've been scrapped. Relations with China and Russia are no better. And relations with Japan, that key Asian ally, they're in the worst shape in years. And around the world, people who are seeking freedom from oppressive regimes wonder if Alaska is still that beacon of hope for their cause. The administration cut support for democracy programs. And where the president has not been clear, I ask, where is his clear and where is his strong voice of support for the Iranians who are risking all in their opposition to Ahmadinejad? Just that short list. And you know, it's no wonder that our president only spent about 9% of his State of the Union address discussing national security, foreign policy, because there aren't a whole lot of victories that he could talk about that night, and that's just a short list. We need a foreign policy that distinguishes America's friends from her enemies and recognizes the true nature of the threats that we face. It's time for more than just tough talk. Just like you, probably just so tired of hearing the talk. The lesson of the last year is this: foreign policy can't be managed through the politics of personality. And our president would do well to take note of an observation John F. Kennedy had made once he was in office, that all of the world's problems aren't his predecessor's faults.